Have you ever wondered how internet traffic flies around the world? Of course, to many, internet data is stored in the cloud, but in reality, it is in the ocean. This is according to Jane Stowell, who oversees construction of Google's undersea cable project. Of course, in our world today, 99% of it travel through fiber optics cable under the sea. Nowadays, we live connected to the internet 24 hours a day, although everything seems to indicate that we're moving towards an increasingly wireless world. Our internet connections actually depend on thousands of kilometers of undersea cables that crisscross the oceans of the entire planet. Well, do you want to know more about that? Of course, when you get a data from, being sent from someone, you said, oh, it's stored in the cloud, most of the flights, the photos, the videos, many information actually stored in the cloud. And that's why we keep thinking that all the data, the internet data, are stored in the cloud. But the truth here is, it is stored in the ocean. So, welcome to Money and Technology. Of course, we are here again to give you information about the technology. In the world of technology, there are quite a number of information, quite a number of activities going on, and it is our responsibility on this show to give you this information so that you will not be in the dark. Okay, without further ado, let's dive into the ocean and see how internet cable is being connected from another world to yet another world, and from another world to to the world around us. Okay, we'll be right back. 99% of it travels through fiber optics cables under the sea. That's your internet telephone conversation, your instant messages, your email and your website visits, all making their way beneath the world oceans. Nowadays, we live connected to the internet 24 hours a day. Although everything seems to indicate that we are moving towards an increasingly wireless world, our internet connections actually depend on thousands of kilometers of undersea cables that crisscross the oceans of the entire planet. How does this infrastructure work, and how important is it for us to be able to use Google, Facebook or WhatsApp almost anywhere in the world? Well, currently, 98% of international internet traffic flows through undersea cables according to Google data. A vast underwater network of cables crisscrossing the ocean makes it possible to share, search, send and receive information around the world at the speed of light. These cables are made of optic fiber. Theresa Barbis, a regional director, Southern Europe at D6, says they are not too thick, but inside there are hundreds of filaments, the thickness of a human hair, and of course, they are protected with layers of different materials. The fact that we route internet traffic through the ocean amidst deep sea creatures and hydrothermal vents runs counter to most people's imaginations of the internet. Didn't we develop satellites and Wi-Fi to transmit signals through the air? Haven't we moved to the cloud? Undersea cable systems sound like a thing of the past. The reality is that the cloud is actually under the ocean. Even though they might seem behind the times, fiber optic cables are actually state-of-the-art global communication technologies. Since they use light to encode information and remain unfettered by weather, cables carry data faster and cheaper than satellites. These systems are not going to be replaced by area communications anytime soon. The miles and miles of cable, which are roughly the size of a garden hose, carry internet traffic at the speed of light. They can carry so much traffic that fewer than 300 cable systems transport almost all internet traffic around the world. Nearly 750,000 miles of cable already connects the continents to support our insatiable demand for communication and entertainment. Companies have typically pooled their resources to collaborate on the sea cable project like a free way for them all to share. But now, Google is going its own way in a first-of-its-kind project connecting the United States to Chile, home to the company's largest data center in Latin America. People think that data is in the cloud, but it's not. Getting it there is an exacting and time-intensive process. A 456-foot ship named Durable will eventually deliver the cable to sea. But first, the cable is assembled inside a sprawling factory a few hundred yards away in Newington. NH, the factory owned by company Subcom, is filled with specialized machinery used to maintain tension in the wire and encase it in protective skin. The cables begin as a cluster of strands of tiny threads of glass fibers. Laser propel data down the thread at nearly the speed of light using fiber optic technology. After reaching land and connecting with an existing network, the data needed to read an email or open a web page makes its way onto a person's device. While most of us now largely experience the internet through Wi-Fi and phone data plans, those systems eventually link up with physical cables that swiftly carry the information across continents or across oceans. In the manufacturing process, the cables move through high-speed mills the size of jet engines, wrapping the wire in a copper casing that carries electricity across the line to keep the data moving. Depending on where the cable will be located, plastic, steel, and tar are added later to help it withstand unpredictable ocean environment. When finished, the cable will end up the size of a thick garden hose. Most of what you see on the internet, including possibly this telecast, travel to you from underwater. In fact, 99% of all international data is transferred through a labyrinth of cables stretching across the floor of the world oceans. There are 229 of them, each no thicker than a soda can. It's a method that goes back more than a century. In 1886, the ship SS Great Eastern was the first to lay a continually successful transatlantic cable. Cables are still the technology of choice today, even over satellites, primarily because of their stability and reliability despite the odd shark bites. Ever wonder what might look like on a map? The Oxford Internet Institute has charted the world fiber optic connections, imagined as a metro system. Though simplified, it does show all of the cable network under the Gulf of Mexico or South and East China Sea, for example. The map shows a number of interesting connection hubs. The United States is the most connected country on Earth right now, with cables that link it to the most other continents. The United Kingdom, Senegal, and Nigeria also boast large connection hubs. Underwater cables are the invisible force driving the modern internet, with many in recent years being funded by internet giants such as Facebook, Google, Microsoft, and Amazon. They carry almost all our communications, and yet, in a world of wireless networking and smartphones, we're barely aware that they exist. Yet, as the internet has become more mobile and wireless, the amount of data traveling across undersea cables has increased exponentially. Most people are absolutely amazed by the degree to which the internet is still cable-based, said Byron Clutterbuck, chief executive of Seacom, a multinational telecommunications firm responsible for laying many of the undersea cables connecting Africa to the rest of the world. People are so mobile and always looking for Wi-Fi, he said. They don't think about it. They don't understand the workings of this massive mesh of cables working together. Thousands of kilometers of undersea cables, transatlantic cable began to be installed more than 150 years ago for the telegraph network. At the end of the 20th century, the deployment of fiber optics brought about a real revolution in the implementation of this type of cable. Today, they connect distant continents along the ocean floor and are all around the globe, according to Bobbies. In total, there are more than 420 underwater cables around the world, totaling about 1.3 million kilometers. Some interactive maps show all the undersea cables that are deployed around the world. One example is the Submarine Cable Map, a website that provides data on when each cable began transmitting data, its length, and the companies that own it. There are more than 420 underwater cables around the world, totaling about 1.3 million kilometers, and that is credited to Marine Cable Map. Southern Europe alone has connection with 45 underwater cables, 10 of which connect to Spain and 9 to Portugal, with another 6 in the process of being deployed, according to Bobbies. Half of these new cables will also reach the peninsula, as the experts point out. For example, one being installed by Google and Grace Hopper will connect the United States with the United Kingdom and Spain. Despite the fact that these cables are increasingly using modern technology and are more resistant, they do occasionally break. Of course, most damage to undersea cables comes from human activities such as fishing and anchoring. According to Telegeography, a telecommunications market research and consultancy company, you might have heard that sharks are known to bite cables, but bites like these haven't accounted for a single cable fault since 2007, the company says. In recent years, various researchers have tried to use these underwater cables to detect and predict earthquakes, but in fact it is seismic movements themselves that are one of the main enemies of these cables. A major earthquake in 2006 in southwest Taiwan ruptured 8 such cables, affecting several Asian countries. Repairing undersea cables is costly and time-consuming. When they break, a telecommunication operator has to find the location of the failure point, bring the damaged part to the surface, and replace it with a new length of cable. Avoiding breakdowns is important for a robust and reliable connection virtually anywhere in the world. These cables are, in Bobby's words, indispensable for transmitting large amounts of data with very low latency. Today, having a reliable, resilient, high-capacity network is more important than ever, especially as we face a new digital normal with the COVID-19 crisis, said Google Cloud. Although undersea cables span the oceans, in reality, all these connections do not end at the coast. As Bobbies explains, they continue over land to link to data centers, which form the physical space for hosting data, or interconnection points, which are convergence points for content networks, internet service providers, and other companies. In other words, while undersea cables are a fundamental part, they are only one of the links in the internet ecosystem.
All right, welcome back from that. I hope you've been informed and now you know the reality that most of the data that we use today, most of the activities going on now, everything is connected to the internet, and of course the internet is not stored there in the cloud. Everything is stored in the cable, and it is being, it's been kept beneath the deep ocean. So that's it. We'll be right back again next time for yet another information. I remain Ajara Ahmed Tijani, your tech guide. Remain blessed and enjoy yourself.